I want you to try something for a second. Um, Wherever you are right now, just tap the surface nearest to you.
Yeah, like the desk you're sitting at or, I
Hmm.
don't know, the steering wheel of your car.
Exactly. Or even just the screen you're looking at. Well, it feels solid, right? It feels undeniable.
Right, because we rely entirely on those physical senses to anchor ourselves. I
Yes.
mean, if we can touch it or see it, we categorize it as true. It's tangible.
Yeah, and everything else is just sort of secondary. But consider for a moment that we might have it completely backward.
Oh, totally backward.
Imagine that the solid desk or the chair you're sitting on, your entire physical surroundings, imagine all of that is actually the illusion.
It's a wild thought.
Right. And the daydream you had this morning, or, those wandering thoughts right before you fall asleep, your online life. What if that non-physical space is the actual eternal reality?
I mean, it is a massive, incredibly disorienting paradigm shift.
It really is.
And that's exactly what we're doing in today's deep dive. We're looking at a text that directly challenges the very foundation of, well, how we navigate our existence.
Yeah, so what are we looking at today?
It's an excerpt from a work called Chapter of Celestial Cultivation, Article 10, and the subtitle is Entering the Virtual Space. It's authored by a figure named Xu Feng.
Okay, entering the virtual space.
Yeah, and in this framework, the entire concept of attaining quote-unquote immortality is totally redefined.
How so? Like living forever in a physical body?
No, exactly the opposite. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. True immortality, according to this, means completely abandoning this physical reality.
Mhm.
You do it to live permanently inside what the author calls virtual space.
Okay, let's unpack this, because that phrase, virtual space, is incredibly loaded for anyone listening today.
Oh, for sure.
When I hear virtual, my brain immediately goes to, I don't know, VR headsets, video games, or some kind of tech bro metaverse.
Right. Mark Zuckerberg type stuff.
Exactly. We are so culturally conditioned to hear the word virtual and just translate it as artificial or fake, like it's a cheap imitation of the real world.
And that 21st century assumption is the very first thing we have to discard
Yeah.
if we want to understand this text.
Okay, so throw out the VR headset.
Throw it out.
Yeah.
Because in Xu Feng's philosophy, virtual does not mean fake. And it has absolutely nothing to do with technology or computer code.
Interesting. So how does he define it?
The author defines virtual space simply as the vast, magnificent, non-material world.
Non-material.
Yeah. It is the exact opposite of the material world, but it is argued to be entirely real.
Hmm.
In fact, the text posits that this non-material realm is far more suited to the free existence of life than, the heavy, restrictive physical universe we currently live in.
I want to break down what actually counts as this non-material virtual world, because the source gets incredibly specific here.
It really does. It casts a very wide net.
Right, like the text states that the images you see in your mind's eye, those exist in virtual space.
Yeah. And your subconscious, that's virtual space too.
And that limitless area, your thoughts wander into the second you close your eyes. That's virtual. I mean, it includes the online spaces we inhabit, sure, but it goes so much deeper.
Oh, absolutely. Like
Yeah.
everyone dreams, right?
Yeah.
Well, dreams are considered a virtual space. Even the space of the heavenly Elysium world is categorized as virtual.
And the parameters are just sweeping, because the author also explicitly places our past and our future into this category of virtual space.
Wait, really? The past and the future?
Yes. Let me just stop and process the mechanics of that. If my dreams are virtual, my daydreams are virtual, and my wandering thoughts are virtual.
Right.
And now the text says my past and future are also virtual. That would mean the only thing that is actually non-virtual, the only real thing in this entire philosophy, is the exact razor-thin millisecond of the present moment.
The precise moment you're experiencing right then.
Exactly. The one I am experiencing right now through my 5 physical senses: vision, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. Everything else is virtual.
That is the crucial distinction the text makes. Literally anything outside of the immediate sensory perception of this very second exists in the virtual space.
Wow.
And the author points out a really fascinating irony here. Human beings have this profound obsession with pursuing what is physically real.
Right. Like we want tangible wealth.
Exactly. Physical security, solid things we can hoard and hold on to. But physical reality is fundamentally fleeting.
The text actually describes physical reality as a passing cloud.
A passing cloud that instantly vanishes. I mean, think about it. The moment you try to grasp the present physical reality, it slips through your fingers and immediately becomes the past.
And as we just established, the past resides in the virtual space.
Oh, exactly.
This completely inverts how we're taught to view the world from, like, childhood.
It really flips the script.
If physical reality is literally just a passing cloud that instantly vanishes into the virtual past, then spending your whole life chasing physical, material success is basically like trying to catch smoke.
Catching smoke, that's a
Yeah.
great way to put it.
You're putting all your energy into grabbing something that fundamentally cannot be held. Honestly, it explains a lot of the existential exhaustion people feel. You know? You are trying to build a permanent house out of smoke.
And the takeaway from this section of the text addresses that exhaustion directly.
What's the solution?
The author states that to attain immortality, you have to stop trying to catch the smoke.
Okay.
You must break through the barrier of reality and return to the virtual. The paradox at the heart of this philosophy is that only by grasping the non-material virtual space can you truly exist in ultimate reality.
See, I'm struggling to understand the appeal of that, though.
Why is that?
Because non-material sounds kind of cold to me. And void. I mean, if I dream of eating a sandwich, I still wake up hungry.
Fair point.
The physical world, for all its flaws, it gives us warmth, connection, tangible satisfaction. So if we are supposed to be aiming for this non-material existence, what does this virtual space actually feel like?
Well, the text anticipates that exact hesitation, and it provides a very specific case study to illustrate the texture of this existence.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It introduces a concept called the home of Changyun celestials.
This part of the source is so fascinating. It describes an illusory, intangible place. Like, you can't physically see the members of this home.
Right? No physical bodies.
You aren't interacting with their bodies or sitting in a physical room with them. Instead, you sense their spiritual presence.
And look at the emotional language the author uses to describe the climate of this space. It's not a cold, empty vacuum at all.
Not at all.
When your thoughts and heart enter this virtual home, the text says you are met with an overwhelming sense of freedom, warmth, harmony, and love.
Wow.
It's described as an atmosphere so compelling and fulfilling that it's actually hard to leave. The members who experience it deeply wish they could just abandon their physical bodies entirely and stay gathered in this spiritual virtual space forever.
And the source takes a really poignant turn right after that. It describes the brutal contrast of coming back to physical reality.
Oh yeah, it's rough.
Leaving that virtual space is compared to literally falling from heaven back down to the human world.
Falling from heaven.
Yeah. The text describes this return as bringing an onslaught of helplessness, constraints, depression, and boredom.
I mean, think about the emotional whiplash of that experience.
Seriously.
You go from a state of boundless freedom and spiritual connection back into a body that requires constant maintenance in a world governed by gravity and time and scarcity.
Which raises a really profound philosophical question for you, the listener. If we clearly know on some deep subconscious level that this human world is not our true home,
Right.
and if we know logically that every single thing we physically own, the house, the clothes, the bank account, is eventually going to turn to dust, why do we keep toiling for it?
Why indeed?
Why do we stress over the morning commute or, the next promotion?
The text labels that exact frustration as an undeniable tragedy. We are caught in this illusory reality, fully aware that it's fleeting, yet we feel completely powerless to escape playing these unfortunate roles.
We're just trapped.
Yeah, we are bound by the script of human survival.
This biological hostage situation is key here, because the text poses a really thought-provoking hypothetical.
Oh, let's apart.
It asks the reader to imagine a scenario where you didn't have to eat, you didn't have to drink water, you were entirely free from all worldly, societal distractions and bodily maintenance. What would you do?
It's a great question.
The author suggests that if those physical survival requirements were removed, we would gladly let our consciousness transcend the physical body to dwell entirely in that virtual home forever.
And it highlights the fundamental tension of the human condition according to this framework.
Which is?
That we are spiritual beings meant for a limitless virtual existence, but we are currently tethered to physical avatars. And those avatars demand constant, exhausting attention.
They really do.
We spend our entire lives feeding, clothing, and sheltering the avatar, leaving almost no time to cultivate the actual eternal self.
Well, if this virtual space is so incredibly warm and fulfilling, and the physical world is just a tragic grind of feeding an avatar, It makes me wonder why I'm sitting here stressing over my daily life instead of just migrating there right now.
Right. Why not just leave?
Yeah. What is fundamentally stopping us from making that leap?
This brings us to the text's diagnosis of our current human state. The author explains that we are stuck because our spiritual senses have not fully awakened yet.
Spiritual senses.
We have physical eyes and physical ears, and they are highly evolved to perceive the material world. But they're completely useless for perceiving the non-material world.
That makes sense. I can't use my physical eyes to look at a dream,
Exactly.
and I can't use my physical hands to touch a memory. I have to experience those things internally.
And because our physical senses so heavily dominate our waking experience, they just drown out everything else.
It's like sensory overload.
Yeah. It becomes very hard for most people to even prove to themselves that the non-material world exists, let alone trust that they can live there permanently.
So what's the fix?
This is where the concept of cultivation is introduced. Cultivation is the active process of verifying that this space exists and learning the mechanics of how to enter and navigate it.
And the ultimate goal of this cultivation is intense. The text maps it out very clearly.
It really does.
The objective isn't just to visit the virtual space for, 20 minutes during meditation or briefly while you sleep. The goal is having your consciousness completely immersed in virtual space 24 hours a day, entirely forgetting the existence of your physical body and the material world around you.
It is a total permanent migration of consciousness.
Just moving out completely.
Exactly. And the text lays out a specific hierarchy of higher realms you can migrate to once you achieve this level of cultivation.
What are they?
It mentions the 1,000-year world, then the 10,000-year world, and finally the ultimate destination, the Elysium world, specifically referencing a place called the Celestial Islands continent.
And here is where the author, Swiffing, makes a very bold claim. He states that he knows the exact path to guide people into these higher worlds.
Yes, he does.
He writes, I am not an ordinary person in the conventional sense. And he claims that if someone follows his guidance unwaveringly, they will attain the qualities of celestial beings and enter the Elysium world.
And the author understands the weight of that statement.
He has to, because, okay, as a modern listener, when someone says they alone know how to guide you to a higher realm and they aren't an ordinary person, that immediately raises some skepticism.
Oh, massive red flags for most people today.
Right. We are conditioned to be very wary of singular figures claiming a monopoly on ultimate truth. So how does the text handle that natural pushback?
The author actually anticipates that exact reaction. He acknowledges that if you just read this one article, you might think he's being deceitful or, self-aggrandizing.
Sure.
But he immediately pivots to address the most obvious question his followers have, which is, if he knows the way, why hasn't he just beamed everyone to the Celestial Islands continent today?
Why are they still dealing with the physical world?
Exactly.
And the reason he gives grounds this really high-level esoteric concept in a very relatable way. He relies on the concept of spiritual merit and uses this brilliant agricultural metaphor.
The fruit metaphor.
Yes. He tells his followers, look, most of you have only been following this path for a year. You are like fruit on a vine. But right now, you aren't just unripe. You haven't even fully taken shape yet.
It implies a natural, organic law that even he, as the guide, cannot break.
Right.
I mean, you cannot forcefully pluck an immature fruit from the vine without destroying it.
He even admits he's actually more anxious than his followers are. He wishes he could take everyone to experience heavenly life tomorrow. But the water isn't boiling yet.
The fruit isn't ripe.
Exactly. The spiritual merit just isn't there yet to sustain that level of non-physical existence. It takes time to build the architecture of a soul that can actually survive without a body.
And that metaphor serves a critical dual purpose here. It explains the delay, yes, but it also places the responsibility firmly back on the individual.
How so?
It's a reminder that attaining this state isn't some magic trick performed by a guru. It is a profound, organic transformation that requires consistent personal effort over time. The text notes that many people dedicate their entire lives, sometimes multiple lifetimes, to cultivating immortality or practicing Buddhism just to achieve this state.
That brings us to a very practical crossroads for you listening right now.
Yeah, the so what factor.
If your fruit isn't ripe enough to ascend to the Elysium world today and you still have to go to work tomorrow and feed your physical avatar, what are you supposed to do? What is the actionable step the author gives for, like, a random Tuesday afternoon?
Well, the text offers a massive, actionable paradigm shift here. The author essentially says, Stop worrying about perfection right now.
Stop stressing over it.
Exactly. Stop stressing over whether you qualify for the 10,000-year world today. Instead, just start practicing. Submerge yourself in the virtual space as much as possible with the tools you currently have.
So the directive is to let your heart and mind transition into a virtual state in advance. It's almost like a rehearsal for eternity.
A rehearsal, yeah. That's
Yes.
exactly it. And the method for this rehearsal is to use your imagination intentionally. Follow your highest ideals and consciously enter an imagined virtual world.
And the source material gives a specific example of this practice. It mentions something created by a Kunkenk's celestial, a vision or detailed imagery of a utopian paradise.
Right.
The author explicitly states that creating and engaging with these imagined, ideal virtual worlds isn't just a fun mental exercise or way to pass the time. It actually has a profound, tangible impact on the future of your life.
Because it acts as the core mechanism of cultivation itself.
Really, just imagining it.
Yeah. By designing and deeply inhabiting your ideal virtual space in your mind, you are actively exercising those unawakened spiritual senses we talked about earlier.
Oh, I see.
Think of it like physical therapy for an atrophied muscle.
Mm.
You are strengthening your consciousness's ability to exist and find fulfillment completely independently of physical stimuli.
This leads to what might be the most radical mic drop statement in the entire text.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
We usually think of spiritual cultivation as rigorous and academic, right? Reading ancient dusty texts, studying complex doctrine, memorizing rules of behavior.
A standard religious practice.
Yeah, but Shuafeng states clearly, learning to live in your imagination and your virtual space is actually a more important method of cultivation than reading scriptures.
And that completely reframes how we view escapism.
Totally.
In our modern productivity-obsessed society, if you spend your afternoon daydreaming about a perfect, harmonious world, society tells you to snap out of it.
Get back to work.
Right. We pathologize it. We call it maladaptive daydreaming or claim you're avoiding reality. But this text flips that entirely. It suggests that your intense desire for an ideal imagined environment isn't a psychological flaw at all.
It's a feature, not a bug. It's your subconscious correctly pulling you toward your true, non-material home.
Yes, the imagination is positioned not as a tool for escaping reality, but as a homing beacon guiding you toward your ultimate reality.
So let's bring this all together and look at what this means for us. Because whether you consider yourself a highly spiritual person actively seeking immortality, or you're just a strict materialist trying to get through the week, the framework this text provides is incredibly thought-provoking.
It really asks us to question the weight we give to the things around us.
It takes the physical world of the five senses, the world we stress over, fight over, and basically define our entire self-worth by and shrinks it down to a fleeting tragedy.
A passing cloud of smoke.
Meanwhile, it elevates the virtual worlds of our minds, our dreams, our online connections, and our imaginations into the realm of eternal substance.
Right. So true cultivation, according to this deep dive into Suvefeng's work, isn't passive
It's not just sitting quietly in a room.
or reading old books.
Yeah.
It is the active 24/7 practice of pulling your consciousness away from the physical script you're forced to play and moving it into an idealized, harmonious virtual space.
It's building the mental and spiritual muscles you need for immortality by, well, taking your own imagination seriously.
It deeply validates the human inner life. I mean, if you've ever felt that profound, unexplainable homesickness for a place you've never been, a place of perfect warmth, freedom, and understanding, this text argues that your subconscious isn't lying to you.
It isn't a fantasy.
Exactly. It's a memory of your potential.
It changes everything about how you value your own thoughts. Which brings us right back to where we started. Remember that desk or that steering wheel or that screen you tapped at the beginning?
The physical thing you thought was the undeniable foundation of reality.
The passing cloud. The smoke that you cannot hold.
Just instantly gone.
So I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder as you go back to interacting with that physical reality today. If your physical life truly is just a passing cloud and the virtual spaces you inhabit, your deep thoughts, your daily daydreams, the ideal worlds you imagine for yourself are actually the concrete foundation of your eternal existence. How much of your true self are you actively building in the virtual world today?